Do you like meat with animals or males that have their testicles removed? Or do you like the flavor of the meat with the animals with the testicles still on?
Quit eating animals.
Another reason is to change the flavor of the meat. By removing the testicles, the hormone profile is actually changed, and this changes the flavor.
All right, we are back to the Quit Eating Animals show, episode 11. Today is March 8th, 2023, and today we are talking about branding. This is something that not a lot of people think about at all, and again, trying to reconnect you with the animals. So we're giving different perspectives, okay, and videos and sharing videos that you probably haven't seen before, that you probably haven't thought about, but actually each animal goes through. You know, I'm sharing this so that you can see for yourself. You can talk about it all you want, but when you actually see these animals and what they go through, these are facts. These are absolute facts.
If they have any joint problems. They'll also receive shots to boost their immune systems against disease.
Right.
And they'll receive some new ear tags,
Listen close.
flies and other parasites. The boys, well, they're going to get banded. Some refer to it as castration, but we're not actually cutting the calves open to remove their testicles. We are using a rubber band to cut off circulation, and eventually, with the loss of blood supply, they just shrivel away to nothing. Banding is proven to reduce the chances of bleeding in the young calves and is less stressful on the calf than a surgical procedure. The downside to banding is that the band could break, or one testicle could be missed. Each producer is going to handle their herd differently, but the primary reason to castrate bull calves is to calm their tempers and their attitudes. Bulls will fight, bulls will get hurt, and once they're castrated, well, we call them steers, and they're less likely to hurt each other and me. There is research being done to produce a sterilization shot, although nobody is in production yet on it, and a vaccine that you definitely don't want to accidentally inject into your finger while you're giving a bouncy calf a shot, which actually does happen. After all their shots, the ear tags, and even after castration, then it's time to brand the calf. There are two types of branding that are in practice. One is hot iron branding, which we do, and we'll take a look at in a minute. The other is freeze branding. Now, freeze branding involves the use of liquid nitrogen or dry ice and alcohol to cool the branding iron to about minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 200 Celsius. And by pressing the iron to the skin of the calf, it actually changes the pigmentation of their hair follicles, changing the hair to a white color or removing it completely. Freeze branding requires a branding iron made of copper, and all branding sites must be shaven. Freeze branding takes anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes per animal at a cost of about 5 cents a head. Even at the low end of 3 minutes per calf, we'd only be able to brand about 20 calves per hour. That would stretch our branding day out to almost 8 hours. And that's not counting vaccinations, banding, or even the time to get them in and sort everybody and get them ready to go. Now, we want our cows and our calves to be able to be identified no matter what.
Do you hear that calf in the back? Let me just.
Or even the time to get them in and sort everybody and get them ready to go. Now, we want our cows and our calves to be able to be identified no matter what and no matter when.
Not happy.
We choose to brand our calves with a hot iron.
Look at this.
A branding iron will generally take about 5 seconds to apply a good brand to a calf. Pressing it into its skin and rocking it back and forth will produce an even and clear brand. We use an electric branding iron.
Look at this. Let me just.
And sort everybody and get them ready to go. Now, we want our cows and our calves to be able to be identified no matter what and no matter when.
Look at this.
We choose to brand our calves with a hot iron.
Hot iron.
A branding iron will generally take about 5 seconds to apply a good brand to a calf.
5 seconds.
Pressing it into its skin and rocking it back and forth will produce an even and clear brand. We use an electric branding iron, allowing us to ensure that our iron is always at the correct temperature to produce a good brand.
Can you imagine?
Once all that is complete,
Just
then off we go.
burned like
On to the next calf, and we repeat the procedure.
every single one. One at a time. Look at locked
Often
up in these
we'll get
cages.
asked why we brand. And
So, there you have it. So no matter how humane you think this is or how well they're treated, like they're being branded, and branded is just mean identification, but they're being burned. I mean, you saw what each calf goes through during the branding process. They even they take their testicles off. You saw they put a band around them. Like you saw that, and like this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing to these animals. And if you heard, it said changing the flavor of the meat. So, do you like meat with animals or males that have their testicles removed, or do you like the flavor of the meat with the animals with the testicles still on? I mean, this is getting out of control. That is completely like absurd, made up. They said there's studies coming, and come on, that is absolutely the most ridiculous thing. Change the hormone, like come on. That's this is what we're doing to these animals, branding them for identification, branding them, right? And so, is this acceptable? Is this something that we want to take part in? Is this something that you want to take part in? I don't think so. I don't think that number one, I don't think that you knew that this was happening, because I didn't know that this was happening. You don't think about these things like, oh wow, it is a piece of animal, piece of flesh in front of us. We just eat it just because like that's just kind of what we're supposed to do. It's what everyone else does. That's what everyone else around us is doing. It's just normal. You put it in a burger and you just eat it. You don't actually think of the process of what it actually is, number one, and then the process for it to get in front of you. You just don't think about these things. And then now when you think about it, each individual, right? Picture you're eating a burger or a steak. That's an individual animal. That is one individual animal. Or it could be many animals mixed together, and it's not fun to think about, number one. And even what's more fun, or not fun to think about even more, is the way that they're treated, like they're being branded. You saw they're being burned. They are literally being burned 5 seconds. Like, I know each one of us has been burned before, right? I've got a burn right here, actually. Look, right here. This is burning. You know how it happened? I think I was at a football game, and I went to put in pretzels. I was working the stand with my parents, and I was working the hot pretzels, and I went to put it in the oven, and then it kind of got stuck, and then in it, my arm went over like this, and that's just no way. This 5 seconds. Immediately as it happened, it bubbled up, and I mean it's still a scar there. Right? 5 seconds on something way hotter, and it's someone putting pressure on it. It's not like, you touch it and I release. It's actually, and then they're saying they're moving it around left and right, like back and forth to get an even brand.
With a hot iron.
Hot iron.
A branding iron will generally take about 5 seconds to apply a good brand to a calf.
5 seconds.
Pressing it into its skin and rocking it back and forth will produce an even and clear brand.
Let's just burn the animal evenly, and they're screaming. They're not happy. That's why they have to lock them up, because they would jump. You might, like, that animal does not want to be burned. There's no doubt about it. Even when the ear tag, the animals are jumping. So this is not something that we want to contribute to. This is not something that we want to partake in. And so I encourage you to choose plants instead, because this doesn't happen to plants. Like, we're not doing that. And you can argue, how many animals, were killed during your, okay, cool. We don't need to build any more farmland or anything. So what I'm saying is, okay, yes, it may have happened, but it's done. It's over with. You can't go back. Let's not go backwards. Let's not look at and say, look what you did. That reminds me of, people just saying, just kind of blaming someone else or deflecting, and said, but what about you? Like, you also do this. But okay, yes, but these are not actually animals. We're not burning plants. You're not going to see them jump. You do not see them scream or hear them scream, hear them bellow out because they're in pain. You visually see this. You can rip a plant apart, whatever chop an onion, nothing moves. There's nothing that's bleeding. There's no nerves there. There's nothing. So please stop trying to say that there is something. That's just yourself trying to like do mental gymnastics to try to convince yourself that it's okay, or that that it's a good thing, or it's not a bad thing. Like it's the way it is. Well, no, it's not the way it is, and it's not the way it has to be, especially for you. You may not be able to change everybody, but you can certainly take part in or not take part in. You can choose that individually. And I encourage you to do so, because you're going to feel so much better. You're going to feel so much better, not only from a health standpoint, but from a mind standpoint. Because I know that every single burger, every single bite that you eat, that you put into your mouth, you're going to be thinking about this. Like like that's happening, whether you think about it or not. That's we've been conditioned not to think about this. We've been conditioned to just put this away. We've been conditioned to not talk about this. This is put into a category inside of a compartment inside of our brain. Just, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it, but it's still happening. And when you're eating these animals and when you're taking bites, it still happened. And now you're putting that into your body. Okay. So subconsciously, that it's happening, whether you think about it or not. Subconsciously, it's happening. You are. It's only catching up. It's only going to catch up. So you might as well do it now. You might as well quit eating animals today and start to choose plants, because you're just going to feel so much better. Find a way. You can find a way. You certainly don't want to be contributing to this. Right. And this is just one little aspect. This is just the branding aspect. Right. These animals are still alive when we're hearing about this, when we're learning about this. These animals are still alive. So it's, you feel bad, but they're not actually killed yet. And when I say killed, I also said yet, because they're going to be, but we just don't want to think about it. So now that we're thinking about branding, like these animals go through this. This is one of the things that a humane, free range animal is going to go through, especially on one of these ranches in Texas, where they go back to the olden days, and they brand for identification, because that's the way it used to be. And that's the way it continues to be, because it's just tradition. Their parents did it, and their grandparents did it, and their great parents did it, and it's just passed down. That's why we eat the way that we do, because everybody has just been doing it, and that's just the way it is. We've been creating traditions around it. But this has all been going on just in a silo, in a place where we don't want to talk about it, where we don't want to see it. And then actually those that do, and then those that see these videos, right, and you can hear the justifications of it. You can hear how they're trying to justify it, how this is a good thing. But in reality, when you actually look at it from the individual animal's perspective, it is not a good thing. You can clearly tell by each animal, they don't want to be there. They want to get out. They hurt. They scream. They're in pain. So these are facts. These are just facts. I'm going to check out these dogs and see what they're barking at. So I'll be right back. I mean, just look at what's behind me, right? So let me just get out of the way there. Look at this. Ooh, didn't that look like a 3rd-degree burn right there? Just not something that you want to be paying for. You don't want to be partaking in that. These individual animals go through this. You don't want that. Who wants that? Who wants to be doing that? Nobody. Not nobody. No one. All right. So you don't have to. You don't have to. That's it. All right. All right. So I'm going to end this. But if you found this video helpful and value, please click subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. That way, it'll help us out, trying to reach as many people as possible, and to share this information to get you to reconnect with the animals. So share this with someone, Share this with someone that may or may not have seen this before, may or may not have known about branding. Okay, each of these animals, and it's what these animals go through, and it's how we treat them. Okay, and remember, it's not your fault. We were all taught this. We all grew up in a society where this is normal, where they taught us that it's necessary. Okay, in schools, it's talked about like it's a good thing. But in reality, when you actually get to the facts of what's actually happening and what it's doing to us, and more importantly to the animals, what it's doing to them, that's what matters. And when you think about it from their perspective, this all goes away. You don't want to be contributing to that because we don't want to be treating anyone like that. All right. So we're done here.
Quit eating